Welcome back to the deep dive.
Hey there.
So today's mission, we've got this stack of sources, and we're really going deep on Web3 consumer adoption.
Yeah, not the usual institutional finance angle or, deep tech infrastructure.
Exactly. We're asking what actually gets millions of everyday people to start using a blockchain.
And the answer right now seems to be, well, a pretty wild mix of absurd memes and these incredibly addictive mobile games.
It's kind of fascinating.
It really is. We've got this perfect case study that's sort of anchoring our discussion today. It's this canvas-themed farming game on Solana.
Right.
It's just exploded. I mean, Decrypt even called it Unhinged.
When a finance outlet says that, you know it's something else.
They really do.
And the key thing here, I think, is that this isn't just some random one-off. This whole phenomenon, this specific recipe of a super fast user experience plus humor, NFTs, weird token stuff, it's showing up again and again on Solana.
We saw the same playbook, basically, with the whole BONK meme coin revival.
Yeah, and even before that, you had StepN back in 2022, right? The whole move to earn thing.
Exactly. That really pioneered this kind of viral consumer app on Solana.
So the big question we're digging into today is, why Solana? Why is this stuff happening there? And what does it tell us about where crypto gaming might be heading?
Yeah, we're analyzing these sources to really understand this shift. It feels like we're moving from that old earn first model.
Where the token was everything.
Right. To something more like fun first. Or, as we're kind of calling it, play and meme.
Play and meme. I like it.
And ultimately, we want to figure out, is Solana cementing itself as the place for this super fast-moving consumer stuff, this meme culture?
Yeah.
Is it actually pulling ahead of the older chains?
Okay, right. Let's unpack that. Because if the success of these apps hinges on just constant, rapid interaction, you have to start with the basics. Why does a quirky, high engagement game like a weed farming sim?
Laugh slightly.
Yeah. Why does that take off specifically on Solana? Why not on, say, Ethereum or even one of the big layer 2s? What's the actual technical edge here?
Well, it really boils down to removing friction, just getting rid of it, especially at scale.
Okay.
Think about it. If you're building an app for potentially millions of people, and they're meant to be doing dozens, maybe hundreds of tiny actions every day.
Like harvesting crops, selling little things, claiming tiny rewards.
Exactly. All those microtransactions. The blockchain underneath, it has to be basically invisible.
Right.
The second a user has to wait, even a few seconds for a confirmation, or worse, pay a fee, they actually notice. The fun just stops, dead in its tracks.
Yeah, and if you're on a chain that gets congested easily, that friction is massive. Like if my little reward is worth 5 cents, but the gas fee is 50 cents.
Forget it.
You just paid 10 times the reward value just to play the game for that second. It kills the whole loop instantly.
It does. And honestly, the difference between a Web3 game that works financially and one that just crashes and burns, often it comes down to those few cents in transaction fees. Solana is built to handle this differently. Its core architecture gives it an advantage that, frankly, the main EVM chains and even a lot of the layer 2 solutions, they struggle to match that at true mass scale.
Okay, let's get into the weeds a bit then. We hear low fees and high throughput thrown around all the time. What's actually happening under the hood on Solana that gives it this edge for these consumer apps?
Yeah, it's not just marketing buzzword. There are a couple of key things the sources point to. The low fees, that comes from really low storage costs and just overall efficiency in how it processes transactions.
Okay.
But the real kicker, the thing that enables that speed, is the high throughput. And that relies heavily on two big innovations, proof of history or POH.
Yes, POH, Solana special sauce.
Kind of, yeah.
Right.
And the other one is transaction parallelism.
Right, proof of history. That's Solana's unique clock, isn't it? How does a clock make my virtual farming faster?
Chuckles. It's a good question. So POH is basically a cryptographic clock. It lets all the computers securing the network, the validators, agree on the time and the order of events before they even reach consensus.
Before? How does that help?
Think of it like this. On other blockchains, validators spend a lot of time and energy talking back and forth just to agree on the exact sequence of transactions. Did transaction A happen before B? Are you sure? That takes time.
Okay.
POH essentially pre-stamps every transaction with a verifiable timestamp as it happens. So the sequence is already known. This cuts down massively on the waiting time, the confirmation latency.
Oh, I see.
So for our cannabis farming game, when you hit harvest or plant, The network instantly knows the precise moment you did that. It can process it almost immediately instead of you waiting potentially minutes for the next block to get filled and confirmed.
Got it. So speed and order are kind of guaranteed up front. And then parallelism, that's where the sheer volume handling comes in.
Exactly. That's the other piece of the puzzle. Most blockchains, especially the ones based on the Ethereum virtual machine, the EVM, they're basically single-threaded.
Like a one-lane highway?
Perfect analogy.
Yeah.
They process transactions one after another. If one transaction is really slow or involves a super complex smart contract, everyone else is stuck waiting behind it. Big traffic jam.
Right. We've all felt that pain.
Solana, though, is designed for parallelism, transaction parallelism.
Like a multi-lane highway?
Hmm.
Or like a computer with multiple processor cores?
Yeah, the multi-core processor is a great way to think about it. Solana can process multiple unrelated transactions at the same time.
Ah, okay. Unrelated is key.
It is. So if you have 100,000 people harvesting their digital crops in this farming game, and maybe another 50,000 people minting an NFT in a completely different app, the network can handle those separate actions concurrently, side by side.
That makes a huge difference under load.
Massive. It prevents that kind of network-wide congestion that just makes a game totally unplayable on, say, Ethereum mainnet when things get busy.
So for the user, what does this all mean?
It means the gameplay loop feels instant. Click done, click done. And maybe even more importantly, the cost to participate is practically zero. That frictionless feeling, that's the secret sauce. It's the fundamental accelerator for getting something to go viral.
That makes total sense. And that structural advantage, that invisible tech, really sets the stage for what you called play and meme, which I think brings us neatly to this whole conceptual shift we need to talk about. These successful apps today, they feel really different from the ones just a couple of years ago.
Oh, completely different. And this shift, it's not accidental. It's a very direct, very intelligent reaction to the huge failures, the massive flameouts we saw in the last cycle.
We have to start there, really, with a critique of that old play-to-earn model, P2E 1.0 maybe.
Yeah, P2E 1.0. That model, the one that was dominant a couple of years back, it was purely earn first, like 100%.
The whole point was the token.
The only point, often, the main incentive was yield. How much coking can I extract? People weren't really playing the game for fun. They saw it as work. Mandatory labor, almost.
Like a chore you had to do every day.
Exactly. Like punching a time clock, just to keep getting that yield or earn that specific token.
And the second that financial reward dipped below whatever value the user put on their own time, poof, they were gone.
Instantly. The game itself was disposable if the tokenomics broke down.
Which they almost always did.
They almost always did. That was the structural failure mechanism.
Yeah.
The entire game economy was often built on just printing more and more of the reward token. Constant inflation.
Which only worked
if you had an ever-increasing flood of new users coming in to buy up that token, basically to pay off the people who are already playing.
A Ponzi-like structure, essentially.
It had those characteristics, yeah.
Yeah.
And when that flow of new users inevitably slowed down, maybe the game wasn't actually fun, or the entry cost, like buying expensive NFTs, got too high. Then the supply of that reward token just completely overwhelmed the demand. The price crashed, and the entire user base. They vanished overnight.
Okay, so that's the broken model. How does Play and Meme, this P2E 2.0, try to fix that?
It basically flips the whole thing on its head. The new games that are finding success, like this cannabis farming one, they prioritize the fun first. The viral gameplay, the cultural relevance, the absurdity, the humor. That's the core.
That's the meme part of Play and Meme.
Exactly. The tokenization, the financial layer, that comes second. It's still important. It's a powerful boost. It enhances the core loop. But it's not the only reason people are there.
Okay.
So if the token price takes a hit, which it probably will at some point, the community might actually stick around. Because fundamentally, they're enjoying the game itself, or they're just into the social aspect, the shared joke, the meme of it all.
So the value proposition changes from come here and make money to, hey, this is actually fun, it's hilarious, makes great Twitter content. Oh, and by the way, you might earn some tokens too.
You nailed it.
Yeah.
That's the shift. And this move towards fun first, tokenized second, that's what analysts are pointing to as a potential path to actually sustaining users long term.
Because the fun acts as a buffer.
It buys you time. If the core experience is genuinely engaging, if the meme is funny, the art is cool, the gameplay loop is quick and satisfying, it gives the developers breathing room, they can tweak the economy, fix bugs, add features, without facing that immediate existential threat of a daily token death spiral if the price wobbles.
The project is held up by the culture, not just the speculative capital.
But culture becomes a part of the value.
You know, This feels like a really significant signal for Web3 more broadly. It kind of suggests that if you actually want millions of people to use this tech,
Yeah,
you have to lean into what makes the internet, well, the internet, the weirdness, the communities, the inside jokes.
totally. It feels like the return of what some people call culture coins, where the growth strategy isn't just about APY, it's about virality, social proof, and making adoption feel like a game itself.
Right.
It reinforces this idea that if Web3 wants to be more than just DeFi, which is important but niche, it has to tap into things people already enjoy. Community, jokes, competition, showing off cool digital stuff.
Yeah.
And making someone interact with a crypto wallet or claim a token suddenly feels way less intimidating, almost seamless, when it's wrapped up inside an app that's genuinely entertaining and super easy to use.
The meme is the Trojan horse for getting people comfortable with the tech.
Couldn't have said it better myself. The meme gets them in the door. The low friction keeps them there.
Okay, so we've talked about the tech and the concept. Let's shift gears and talk about the actual tangible impact this stuff has.
Yeah.
When one of these consumer apps goes properly viral, the effects ripple out immediately, don't they? It's not just the players feeling it. It hits traders. It hits the whole Solana network.
Oh, absolutely. The first, most immediate effect you see is just this massive injection of liquidity, which leads to huge short-term pumps in token prices.
Right, the degen effect.
Chuckles. Yeah, the degen effect is real. When a near game or meme asset catches fire, speculative capital just rushes in. And importantly, it's not always just focused on the game's own native token.
Ah, so the pump isn't isolated. It spreads.
It's often systemic, yeah.
Yeah.
The sources we looked at track this pretty clearly. You see the obvious pumps in the game's own tokens, of course.
Makes sense.
But you also see huge spikes in the value of related NFT collections. So in our farming game example, maybe it's the digital plots of land or the unique NFT seeds or whatever assets are in the game, secondary market sales for those can go absolutely nuts.
Okay.
And then, crucially, that positive vibe, that excitement, it often flows upstream to the broader ecosystem.
How so?
You'll see related meme coins on Solana get a boost. And sometimes, even the SOL token itself benefits, just because all this activity and hype draws general crypto capital back onto the Solana chain. Kind of validates the whole ecosystem's potential in the eyes of the market.
So rising tide lifts all boats, at least temporarily.
For a while, yeah. But maybe more significantly, from a long-term health perspective, is the impact on the Solana network itself. Every single one of these viral breakouts, whether it's this farming game or Step In Before It or whatever comes next, it acts as a real-world stress test.
Proving the tech can handle it.
Exactly. It validates Solana's architecture in practice, not just theory, and it directly boosts those core network metrics that analysts watch like hawks.
Right. Let's get into those metrics. If we're trying to gauge the real impact beyond just price speculation, what are we looking at?
Okay, so now we're putting on our analyst hats. We need concrete data. A big viral launch triggers immediate jumps in key network numbers. The first, and maybe the most obvious one, is daily active wallets, DAU.
How many unique wallets are interacting with the chain each day?
Precisely. So analysts will look at the baseline number before the game launched and then compare it to the days and weeks after. If this cannabis game, say, brought 100,000 new active wallets online in just 3 days, that's hard, undeniable proof of massive, rapid consumer adoption happening.
More wallets mean more actual humans getting involved with Web3.
Hopefully, yeah. And those humans, or at least those active wallets, they generate the second critical metric, transaction volume.
Makes sense. These games need lots of clicks.
Constantly.
Yeah.
Planting, harvesting, checking status, maybe trading small items. The sheer number of transactions happening every day demonstrates the network's utility. And we're not talking about a handful of huge DeFi swaps here.
No, millions of tiny interactions.
Millions of tiny game-driven interactions. And that higher transaction volume. It directly leads to increased gas revenue for the Solana network validators.
Which is the economic lifeblood of the chain.
It's the proof of life, economically speaking. It shows the high-throughput, low-fee model is actually working and generating value.
Okay, so active wallets, transaction volume.
Yeah.
What else? You mentioned something less tangible earlier, cultural cash. What does that actually mean in, economic terms? How does hype turn into value?
Cultural cash is maybe the most powerful long-term asset, even though it's hard to quantify directly. Think of it like a flywheel.
Okay.
Every single time a consumer app blows up and goes globally viral on Solana, It cements the network's reputation. It stops being just this abstract piece of technology.
And becomes the place where cool stuff happens.
Exactly. It becomes known as the platform where mass market, fast, fun applications actually live and work economically. That reputation attracts serious attention.
Like from VCs.
Definitely VCs, especially those specifically looking to fund consumer-facing Web3 projects. They start earmarking funds for the Solana ecosystem. It also attracts top developer talent. Devs want to build where the users are, where the energy is.
Wild, where the players are.
So that cultural recognition, that buzz, it translates directly into long-term developer migration and capital inflow, which secures future growth and innovation on the chain. It's incredibly valuable.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's say we're analysts right now. We're looking at the Diffalama Solana dashboard, maybe some other tools. We're watching this new farming game explode. What are the specific nitty-gritty data points we track to figure out if this is a real trend, something with staying power, versus just another pump and dump flash in the pan? How do we measure if the fun is actually lasting?
Yeah, great question. You have to look way beyond just that initial spike in transactions or price.
Yeah.
The absolute #1 metric, the real litmus test, is the user retention curve.
How many people stick around after the initial hype dies down?
Exactly. If your daily active users drop off a cliff, like down 80% after the first week or two, it was mostly driven by the financial incentive, the token pump. People came, got their tokens, and left.
Okay.
But if you see a healthy retention curve where a decent percentage of those early adopters are still active weeks or even months later, even after the token prices may be stabilized or corrected, that signals the core game loop itself is genuinely sticky. People are finding it fun or engaging for its own sake.
Are there specific ratios to watch there?
Yeah, analysts often look at the ratio of daily active users, DAU, to monthly active users, MAU.
Wow.
A high DMAU ratio suggests people aren't just checking in once a month, they're coming back frequently, maybe multiple times a day. That implies real engagement.
Okay, so retention tells us if the fun is real. What about the money flowing within the game's ecosystem?
Right, so then you dig into the financial metrics inside the game. If the game uses NFTs for its assets, like those land plots or special seeds, you track the NFT mint volume and, more importantly, the secondary sales volume.
Why secondary sales?
Because sustained activity on the secondary market indicates those NFTs have real utility or desirability within the game. People are willing to pay other players for them, presumably to get an advantage or own something rare. It shows demand beyond just flipping the main token.
It proves the in-game economy has some legs.
Exactly. Then you also look at the total value locked, PVL, specifically in liquidity pools for the game's own tokens. Is that TVL really shallow, meaning just a few big players could crash the price by selling?
Making it super fragile.
Very fragile. Or is the TVL deep and maybe even growing? That suggests more commitment, maybe from market makers, or just longer-term believers who are providing liquidity. It indicates more stability.
Okay, retention, internal economy, what else?
And finally, you track the ecosystem token reaction. You watch how the price of SOL itself, and maybe some of those related Solana meme coins, behaves when this specific game token inevitably goes through a correction.
So see if the damage is contained.
Sort of. If the game token crashes hard, but SOL's price stays relatively stable or even keeps climbing, it suggests the broader market sees the game's success as a positive signal for Solana's infrastructure, even if that one particular project was overheated.
It separates the specific app's hype from the platform's perceived value.
Precisely. It's really about connecting all these dots, user behavior, internal economics, broader market reaction, to figure out if you're looking at genuine network growth fueled by a sticky product or just a short-lived speculative bubble.
Got it. Okay, this is crucial because we absolutely have to inject some skepticism here. We've talked about the speed, the fun, the potential, but these things are built on hype, on memes, on internet culture, which is notoriously fickle. We need to talk seriously about the risks. How fast can this whole thing collapse? And what are the warning signs?
That skepticism is non-negotiable. You have to have it in this case. Because the volatility, it's just baked into the cake. Our sources, especially the ones looking back at previous crypto gaming cycles, are very clear. Meme-fueled projects can crash as quickly as they rise.
The same speed that lets them go viral lets them disappear.
Exactly. The low friction is great for getting users in, but it's also incredibly easy for users to get out. So the risk of these really rapid boom and bust cycles, it's extremely high.
So what are the immediate red flags? If you're looking at one of these hot new projects, what tells you, uh-oh, this might not last?
There are probably three main factors that often determine if a project can survive that first big hype wave and the inevitable correction that follows. First, and we just touched on this, is liquidity depth.
Back to the TVL.
Back to the TVL. If the token's liquidity pool is super shallow, it means just a small handful of early investors or team members deciding to cash out can absolutely obliterate the price. We're talking 90% plus drops in minutes.
Which then triggers panic selling from everyone else.
Creates an instant death spiral. Users see that chart, they see their holdings evaporate, and they are gone. No questions asked. There's no mechanism to recover confidence.
Okay, shallow liquidity is red flag number 1. What's 2?
Number 2 is developer credibility and transparency, or the lack thereof.
Anonymous teams, things like that.
That's a classic sign. You really want to look for projects where the team is public, ideally with a track record. Do they have a clear roadmap? Are they communicating updates? Are they fixing bugs?
Yeah.
Because longevity requires ongoing work.
Right.
These games need new content, balance changes, community management. That takes a committed, credible team. If the team is anonymous, pops up out of nowhere, pumps the token, and then just disappears. Well, that's the textbook rug pull scenario.
Happens all the time.
Sadly, yes. So team credibility is huge. And the third factor is what we discussed before, that user retention. If the data shows the fun wears off after 48 hours, if people aren't sticking around once the initial buzz fades, the project has zero long-term prospects, no matter how high the token pumped initially.
Okay, liquidity, team retention. Got it. Let's make this more concrete with some history. You mentioned Axie Infinity earlier as kind of the poster child for the old P2E model's failures. We need to really drill down on why its economy broke. What was the precise flaw, even when it was insanely popular?
Right. Axie's rise and fall is like the foundational cautionary tale. It's the lesson that this whole play and meme movement is consciously trying to avoid repeating.
So what went wrong?
Axie used a two-token system. You had AXS, which was for governance, kind of like shares in the project. And then you had SLP, Smooth Love Potion.
Chuckles. Great name.
Chuckles, yeah. SLP was the reward you earned by playing the game, by battling your Axie creatures. Now, here's the fundamental problem. The main demand for SLP came from needing it to breed new Axie NFTs. So basically, new players needed SLP to get started, or existing players needed it to expand.
Demand tied to growth.
Tied to new user growth, primarily.
Yeah.
But the supply of SLP, that was generated constantly by all the existing players just by playing the game every day.
Uh-oh. I see where this is going.
Yeah, everyone was constantly farming and earning SLP. But the only significant buyers were the newcomers, or those breeding. The system was mechanically designed so that the rate of SLP creation, the inflation, was almost guaranteed to eventually outpace the rate of new user adoption.
They just couldn't onboard people fast enough to soak up all the SLP being printed.
Exactly. It created this massive structural supply overhang. The markets saw this coming, saw the hyperinflation on the horizon, and the SLP price just collapsed. And since SLP was the primary economic incentive to play when its value evaporated, so did the players.
Game over. A classic example of prioritizing earn way too heavily over actual play or sustainability.
Textbook case.
Okay, now let's turn to Solana's own history. StepN, back in 2022. That was huge for Solana, right? It really proved the chain could handle a viral consumer app. It brought millions of people into the ecosystem. But it also eventually faded pretty hard. What was StepN's specific issue? Was it the same as Axie?
Similar themes, but a slightly different mechanism. StepN was brilliant because it proved Solana's tech could handle the speed needed for something like Move to Earn. It literally got millions of people worldwide to download a crypto wallet, buy an NFT sneaker, and interact with crypto daily just by walking or running outside. That was huge for onboarding.
Incredible onboarding, yeah.
But the token model, again, ran into trouble. It had to balance the rewards token inflation against the complexities of real-world activity and asset depreciation.
Meaning?
Meaning you earn tokens for running, but you also had to spend tokens to repair your virtual NFT sneaker, which degraded over time. The economics only worked if the value of the tokens you earned consistently outweighed the cost of those repairs and the initial sneaker purchase.
So if the token price dropped too much,
then the incentive flipped. Suddenly you were essentially paying to exercise, or the return just wasn't worth the time and effort anymore. The economic model hit a saturation point, the rewards diminished, the costs felt higher, and people lost motivation.
and maybe the fun wasn't quite as sticky.
That's arguably the other factor. StepN, for all its innovation, didn't quite have that relentless, absurd, purely cultural energy of a true meme. Its core appeal was fitness plus finance. That's powerful, but maybe has a higher bar for sustained emotional engagement compared to just pure viral humor or addictive, simple gameplay. It proved the tech worked on Solana brilliantly, but the specific move-to-earn model itself wasn't quite culturally sticky enough to survive the crypto winter and the economic adjustments.
Proved the platform, but not the specific application's long-term model.
Well put.
And then finally, there's BONK. Not a game, but absolutely used the same principles of Solana speed and meme energy. BONK felt like it came out of nowhere and just instantly revived the entire Solana ecosystem's vibe.
BONK was pure cultural accelerant. It was basically a recovery mechanism disguised as a meme coin. It launched when sentiment around Solana was really low post-FTX collapse.
Right, a tough time.
And its strategy is a massive airdrop to the community, super low-cost trading, instant virality driven purely by memes and community energy. It proved definitively that Solana's architecture is the perfect catalyst for memetics, for things spreading like wildfire.
It showed the power of speed plus meme.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
BONK established the modern Solana playbook. Create a strong meme, make it incredibly cheap and fast to trade and interact with, and you can generate enormous liquidity, network activity, and user engagement almost overnight. It demonstrated the ecosystem's resilience and really validated this whole meme as an adoption strategy that these new games, like the farming one, are now building on.
Okay, so putting it all together, synthesizing everything we've talked about, what we're seeing with this cannabis game and others like it, it feels like the maybe mature execution of this Solana playbook.
I think that's fair to say.
They've used the tech to get rid of the financial friction as much as possible. They're leading with culture, with fun, with memes. The tokenization comes second, enhancing the experience rather than being the sole reason for it. The goal seems to be building something that, even if the token price corrects 50 or 80%, maybe still keeps a good chunk of its users just because. While managing a virtual weed farm is genuinely entertaining or funny to enough people.
Right. The stickiness comes from the fun, hopefully.
But, and it's a big but,
Yeah.
that risk of extreme volatility, the potential for a rapid crash, that just remains the price's admission for playing in this high-speed, meme-driven sandbox.
That's a perfect summary, I think. Solana's tech foundation is enabling this really interesting shift towards fun-first adoption. It feels natural, almost effortless for the end user, which is a huge leap from those clunky earn-first models that failed. It's a necessary evolution. But anyone involved, whether you're a player just having fun, a developer building the next potential hit, or an investor speculating UC, you have to be constantly, acutely aware that the same speed that fuels the incredible virality also fuels the potential for a mass exodus if sentiment shifts or the economics wobble. Speed cuts both ways.
Which leads us perfectly into the final big picture question for you, the listener, to chew on after this deep dive. We look back at crypto history. You had Dogecoin and Shiba Inu becoming these cultural icons, mostly on their own chains or with limited utility elsewhere. You had the early NFT craze really centered on Ethereum, despite the high fees. These new Solana apps, though, they seem to be combining that raw meme energy with actual mass user activity and high velocity in a way that feels maybe different, more integrated.
It does feel different. So the question becomes, is Solana actually becoming the new, maybe even the dominant hub for meme culture and high-velocity consumer apps in the crypto space?
Has its tech advantage finally positioned it to potentially take over that cultural center of gravity that Ethereum held for NFTs or that Doge held for pure memetics?
It's a real question. The platform enables speed, speed enables virality, and virality drives culture and adoption. Right now, based on what we're seeing, Solana looks like the most serious contender for that consumer crypto crown. It's definitely the one to watch.
Absolutely. Well, if you found this breakdown of Solana's latest viral hit and this whole shift towards play and meme valuable, if you enjoyed this deep dive, please do take a second to, interact with the video.
Yeah, it genuinely helps us out a lot.
It really does. Hitting like, subscribing to the channel, maybe ringing that notification bell, it tells the algorithms that people are finding this useful. It boosts our visibility, and honestly, it just lets us keep dedicating the time and resources to create more of this kind of deep dive crypto content for you.
We appreciate the support.
We definitely do. And drop a comment below. We really want to hear your take. Are these viral fun-first games the actual future path to getting millions more people into Web3? Or are they just destined to be these incredibly fast hype cycles that burn out quickly? Let us know what you think.
Yeah, looking forward to reading those.
We'll try and highlight some of the sharpest comments and insights in our next deep dive. Thanks for joining us.